Hello everyone, I'm back and today we're gonna look at some r/Prorevenge. Without further ado, let's get into this. So this first story says, cheating student thought that he'd fool me, fell right into my trap. Without further ado, let's get into this. So I am a cancer researcher and guest professor at a university school of medicine, teaching my specialty, imaging. Besides the usual acquisitions of medical images and MRI, using MRI, CT, etc., imaging has a lot to do with imaging process. Some days I am just a glorified programmer, IT guy, and as anyone who has ever programmed anything will tell you, coding is a very personal activity with enough experience. You can tell who wrote what just by looking at the lines. I am also in my late 20s and not native to this country, and it's my first year as the guest professor, so some students look at me as this inexperienced, gullible foreign guy. As part of my module's grading, the students have to submit two reports that weigh 10% each of their final grade. These reports are about image processing and they have a fair bit of code to it. As usual, there are some students that make an effort, some do minimal work, and some cheat and copy. As I was grading the reports, I noticed a small group of students who found reports from previous years online and literally copy and paste those reports, changing only their names. It was a facepalm moment because those reports were not even good and had a lot of errors. You see, in order to establish a baseline for my grading, I browsed previous year's reports so I knew what to expect from the students of this module. Naturally, I graded them all with a 0 and kept working my way through grading the reports I left. Meanwhile, the students casually asked me in the halls how were the reports. Of course, I can't comment on that until I release the grades. One time, this dude who has copied from another report, 98% match on plagiarism checker, asked me when will I release the grades and comes with this story that he worked really hard on his report, that his exam hasn't gone so well, and he was hoping that he, that the grade on his report would be good enough to pass. I mean, submitting another person's work as your own is very wrong, but it was an online submission and impersonal. Right now, he was just trying to lie through his teeth and to my face. I could feel my blood boiling, but I didn't lose my composure and decided to come up with a plan. I knew that my exam was the last exam of the semester, and that after that the students usually go home or family vacations while they wait for the grades to be posted online. So I graded the exams and input their grades on my Excel with their report grades. 4 students had a 0 due to cheating on their reports, and if I graded their reports with a 50% max on the grade, they would barely fail on the module. But they would fail nonetheless, so it was on. In order to be fair, I bumped everyone else's grade up. A bunch of people with miserable reports ended up barely passing because of my grade bump. But even though their reports were bad, it was their own work and not copied from anywhere else. You see, students are entitled to make an appointment to review their grades after publishing and before their grades are locked for the year. Basically, they sit with me, we go through their exam and reports and their goals as to convince me to give them extra points and hope they pass the module. I knew the cheaters would come after all. They think they fooled me once already and still have half the report points to bargain for. So I just waited for their emails. Lo and behold, they wrote me the same day the grades go online, saying how hard they have worked on the reports and that they don't understand how they only got a 50%, and that they wanted an appointment. I was ecstatic. Sure, let's review your grades. Do you remember that my exam was the last one? Well, they were already on vacations, some very far away, and they begged me for an online appointment. No can do, university policy. Moreover, you have 3 days to show for your appointment, otherwise the grades are locked, also university policy. So here they come, cutting their vacation short to catching planes. Some spent hours on buses and trains to make it on time. I know what many of you are thinking. They come, I show them the plagiarism result checker, and reveal that I know that it is not their work and send them away. Well, I considered it, but I had something better in mind. Those appointments usually take 10 minutes, and I show them their work with my notes on what's right and wrong, and they try to find some inconsistencies in my grading and bargain for more points. I am giving you the opportunity. Mwahahahaha! So, one by one, they sit with me individually and I go through their exam reports. Remember that they copied the reports and copied the bad ones with lots of errors? I asked questions, lots of them. Why'd you do this? What's your reasoning for this? They don't know. It's not their work. They mumbled random stuff because they didn't know how to respond. Point by point, mistake by mistake, I explained why it was wrong, how it should be done, lecturing the same material that they had been lectured on during class. I made it long, I made it boring, I made it painful. I spent hours with each one of them throughout those 3 days. They always came with the same. I worked so hard on this, and I had a little smirk on their face because they thought that I was really easy to fool, the gullible for and again. As the hours go by and I am walking through the errors one by one, I could see their expression change, little by little, their hopes of passing being slowly crushed when they realized that I knew they cheated and I wasn't going to give up any extra points. At this point, they tried to cut short their appointment and wouldn't and leave. I wouldn't let them. We need to finish the review grades. It's university policy. And I just kept going, extending their misery for one more hour or two. It was legal torture, plain and simple. It was glorious. And at the end, every single one of them left with a crushed soul, look in their eyes, and a fail in my class. They knew that I caught them, and that I baited them, and they fell for it. They ruined their vacation and their family's vacation, spent money to travel back and forth, wasted precious summer time, got bored to death, and have nothing to show for it. And the next year, they will have to repeat the module with me. I hope you enjoy your summer. See you next year. Edit. This was EU, not the US. I took the matter to my boss, who is of course the director, and he told me not to report them because the university wants to avoid any kind of legal action at any cost. I couldn't even accuse them of cheating. Just do some things I think should have said. Oh, and loving the hate in some comments. By the way, some are just name calling, but others are very classy. Although there are a few that are way long to read, I am sorry for that. Edit 2. Also, for those of you worried about my bumped grade thing, I made a judgment called to bump some grades of some students who had a good exam on and their report grade was pulling them down. They clearly knew the topics and studied their report and was just not very good. So I decided to give that, given that if the was a the for the report they would pass, to bump it up and allow them to pass. Most of them went from failing at 49% to passing at 50% in on their overall final grade. Well, I guess you just don't mess with a teacher because they can easily bring your grade to its knees. And I guess that's gonna do it for today. I'll see you in the next one. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.